All right. Hello, everybody. We are doing the very first episode of my new podcast, Railbird Radio. The name may or may not change depending on how much disgust I have with that name. It sounds a little bit like Mike Howerton's Runout Radio, which I was sad, but that was an awesome name, Mike. Well done with the Runout Radio. Mike actually has a new podcast called American Billiard Radio. I wanted to give Mike a shout out because I don't think anyone in the last 20 years has done more for the game than Mike Howerton. Mike Howerton of AZ Billiards, if you didn't know. He does not sponsor the podcast. I just think Mike's a cool guy. He's down in Phoenix and does awesome work, him and Jerry Forsyth and all his contributors. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Bo Runnigan and Ra Hanna on the Wire Creative Media. If you haven't listened to anything those guys are doing yet, they're out of LA. Fantastic. Modernizing the commentating game and production, I suppose. They're going to be doing the new World Pool Series, all the commentating and production on that, so it'll be really interesting to see what they do there. I want to give a shout out to Oscar Dominguez and Desiree Dominguez running the Mez West Coast Tour, being decent folk. And some of the best reputations in pool, I think, those guys. Oscar did me a huge solid, actually, at the U.S. Open. I'll forever thank him for this. I was going into the practice room on the winner's side in the second day, and I was super nervous because I didn't want to ask Corey or anybody for their practice table. And he shouted at me from across the room and was like, "Hey, man, you can have my table," because I was putting my cues away like a little punk. I wasn't even going to hit balls. So thank you again, Oscar. You the man. Quickly, Sherry Staunch, I'm probably butchering that name, but Sherry Staunch, Sam Vidal-Claremont, and Tom Riccobini for running the Billiard Education Foundation. Tom Riccobini actually helped me out when I was first starting out in juniors. I got second at 3 junior national qualifiers in a row, and I was crying like a punk because that's how I do. And Tom called me at my house and told me to keep trying because he felt bad for me, I'm sure. But anyway, thank you, Tom. I still remember that. Sam Vidal-Claremont actually lives here in Denver, where I'm at, does a ton for the pool world, contributor to Inside Pool, AZ Billiards, and a ton of other things I'm not even familiar with. Former chairman of the BEF, and Sherry Staunch, who I read is the first chairman of the BEF, I think in 97 or so. And she actually wrote a book with Gary Kanov, or Jerry Kanov. I'm probably butchering that name. Sorry, Jerry or Gary. The book's called Precision Pool. It's a great book for beginners. I still have it in my collection. Mark Wilson of Lindenwood University. If you don't know who Mark is, you're probably not a big pool fan, but then you won't be listening to this. Former Moscone Cup captain, former Moscone Cup champion, and all-around good guy that helps out the pool industry every year and always trying to make things better. Shout out to Mark Wilson, who has agreed to be on the podcast actually in May. So you'll be hearing from him. He agreed to talk about the Moscone Cup and how that whole thing went down, so I'm really excited about that. I wanted to give a quick shout out to EJ Glode, running the Wyoming Open, he's the powerhouse, the king of Saratoga. And we're going, the Wyoming Open starts next weekend, actually. All the good players from the whole region are going to be there, along with Shane Van Boning, Johnny Archer, Rodney Morris is showing up, Corey Doole's going to be there, and Mike Massey. It's a huge tournament every year, one of the best tournaments near the Denver area. Monty Thayer, I want to give a shout out to Monty, too, just for being a great guy. Helps EJ out, tournament directing, and a million other things during the year behind the scenes. Well done, Monty. And last, but certainly not least, Joshua Ramey of Bad Roll Inc. Does a ton of production stuff around the Denver area. And now regionally, the guy's doing film, he's doing commentating, he's setting up challenge matches, promoting. He's a madman. We love you, Josh, and Josh is going to be on the podcast here real soon. So today, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the king of Anytime Billiards, Ryan Henry. How you doing, Ryan?
Pretty good, buddy. How are you?
Doing well. Is it Anytime Billiards LLC?
Yeah. No, it's not. It's incorporated.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Balling Hard Incorporated.
Yeah.
So you're the CEO.
Yeah.
You're the head board of directors.
Yeah, that's me.
All right, good deal, man. If you guys don't know Ryan, he's the owner of Anytime Billiards. He does pool mechanic work, table moving. What else, Ryan?
Refinishing work, recovering everything, pretty much pool table. We work on any pool table, antiques, modern tables, anywhere in between. We do everything that needs to be done to a pool table, and we do it right.
He'll work on your dining room table too if you got the money. Not
not
anymore. He's got more money now.
No
He's cool.
guarantees.
Yeah. Ryan, you have been traveling like a madman.
Yeah, I've
Playing
never
pool.
ever done it before, and it's helped my game out for sure.
Yeah, man. You every other weekend? Every weekend?
No,
50 events in the last
that's what it seems
100.
like. But I mean, I guess it started. Oh man, like two years ago now.
Well, yeah, you weren't playing a ton.
No.
I knew you from the scene.
Yeah.
And I knew you were a good player. But all of a sudden, you were just like bouncing.
Well, yeah, man. It's funny. The shirt I got on, I sponsored a tournament in Longmont.
What does that say?
Temple Grandin School.
Temple Grandin School.
Yeah,
okay.
it's just a school up there in Longmont. And they called me and wanted a sponsorship, and I was like, sure. That was kind of the first tournament I ever sponsored, and I went up there and I asked her if I could play.
Oh, yeah.
So, I was
Did
like,
you win?
No.
Nah, you
No.
suck.
That was, I pretty much do. No. I went up, and it was my first competition pool in forever. I couldn't even.
Oh, so you hadn't been competing at all?
No, I hadn't competing.
Oh, see, I thought you were playing some local stuff.
No. I hadn't played competitive pool for about 10 years.
Well, anyway, tell everybody how you got started then. That'll be good.
Oh, well, I started when I was a teenager with my father. I mean, like most of us.
Did he play good?
Yeah, he still plays pretty good.
Oh, wow. Cool.
High double A, I would say.
Sure.
A lot more defensive player than offense.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
That's how he rolls. So yeah, I kind of got addicted to the game, fell asleep listening to pool balls go down the holes, and eventually at like 14, I'm like, all right, well, what is this really about? And I started playing with him, and he beat my butt in the basement for I think 3 years, and I was 17, and there was a parent kid tournament at Side Pocket, which is no longer there, up on Sheridan.
Yeah, there's a lot of those pool halls, sadly.
Or Wadsworth, actually. Yeah. But it was a fun little tournament. There was a donation-based tournament. 4 cans of food got you in. So it was like for the Denver Food Bank.
I've never played that cheaply. I'm not gonna lie.
It was pretty good. I was like, let's get some green beans.
That
and
makes
go play.
$1 a game look like playing pretty tough.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, me and my dad, we entered the tournament, and I can't remember how many
It's all good.
teams there were, but we ended up winning.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then you got that winning underneath you, and you were like, oh, this
It
feels
was
much better than getting my
cooked.
ass kicked by dad all the time.
Exactly. I was like, well, maybe what we're doing is pretty good.
Sure.
So
So just keep playing from there?
after that, I started working at a pool hall in Arvada called Wild Bill's.
Wild Bills.
Yep.
I know the old owner.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's we won't get into that.
I get it. Yeah. Anyway.
He's all right.
Yeah.
But I worked there for Bill for probably 3 years, and ran tournaments there and played. And,
Oh, okay.
that's kind of where I played out of, was Wild Bills, and we go down to table stakes and
Oh, sure.
try to play down there and try to step up and play with better players and things like that.
Is it the table stakes on the old one on Sheridan or where Felt is now?
No, the old one on Sheridan.
Okay. Used to be over 24 hours, big action spot back in the day, actually. Yeah. All the guys back in the day, all the old guys tell me, oh, back in the old table stakes days on Sheridan, man, open 24 hours, road players in there all the time, nothing but action.
Yeah, nothing but
Yeah.
a lot of action for
Sure.
sure. Yeah, some action you don't want to get into,
Hey,
some
you
action
know,
you do want to get into.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. But yeah, that's kind of how I got my start playing pool. I played there for till I was 19. So a
did
couple
you take
years.
a big break or something?
What happened? Well, I got a girlfriend, and
Oh, Jesus.
yeah.
Every pool player's doomed.
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same story. And then
Same
I
old story.
ended up getting with her and having a kid, and then just didn't play. Ended up having another kid and didn't play for competitively for a good 10, 12 years. I played league.
Wow.
I played league for the first 2 years of my boy's life.
Okay.
But then after that, it was kind of, you know.
If you're just playing league and not competing, man, it can get so boring.
Yeah, it was just the same old thing, and it was causing issues at home. So I just
Oh, yeah.
ended up being young and ended up quitting the game, and then got out of that relationship, and that's when I started picking up the game again here. What would now be 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, because that's when I noticed you come back on the scene.
That's when I started coming back. I started playing a Napa league for Cheryl. At a Mile High Billiards.
Mile High Billiards, yeah.
That was my first
Mile High Billiards in Arvada. Shout out.
Let's go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started playing league there and got immediately hooked again. Got my butt kicked the first night by Greg Kingsbury, the owner of the place. Yeah, another shout out. There you go.
Yeah, Greg Kingsbury, great player here in Denver. Mm-hmm. Just won a big tournament, actually. One of his first big one of his first big wins, as far as I know.
Played out of his mind. Played great.
Ran like a 7-pack.
Yeah.
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 Putting it down, man.
Yeah. He shot really well. It was good.
Yeah, but no, so you jumped in. That's when I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were playing Napa, and you were playing kind of rough, and like somebody that was coming back.
Exactly.
And but now you're sharpened up, man.
Yeah, the traveling and the honing the game, and I call it seasoning, if you will.
Well, that is
just kind of putting it.
Put a little bit of that paprika on your
putting
game.
it all together. Yeah, exactly. It's amazing how many little things go into winning.
Oh, isn't it?
It's
that's something that you can just go on and on about. And it's a little different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stroke stuff and stuff in your head and how you approach and how you eat and how much sleep you got.
Exactly.
And the
It's stuff you don't even
format and
think
the
about.
game. And all these things go into winning, which is why you find a lot of really talented guys that almost never win. And then guys like me, half-ass dudes that I got a knack. I got a knack for winning, but
yeah, man.
I don't know.
It's
never been the most talented guy.
it's not easy to win a pool tournament.
No, it is not.
It is a very long grind.
That's actually one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast is because people don't know. People have no idea.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, and you're a player.
Coming
You
back
thought
and
you
I was
knew.
a player, like you think you're like, yeah, I got stamina, I can do this, and then you enter a tournament that lasts 3 days, and you're like, by a day and a half, and you got to wait 4 hours between matches, and you had no idea what was going on, and it gets in your head, and you.
You forget to eat,
you
and all of a sudden you're playing like crap. Your
And
blood
you're like, why
sugar's
am I not
super
playing
low.
good? Yeah.
Exactly. You're like, oh man, I dodged all these balls. And, Hey, when's
Exactly.
the last time you ate? Oh, I ate breakfast at 9 and at 9 a.m. and it's 9 p.m. and you're in your fifth match and you
Exactly.
wonder why you're crashing. Your adrenaline's all pumped up, so you don't want to eat.
Right.
Yeah, and then you have a Snickers bar and you play out of your mind. Shout out Snickers bars.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the food intake and is
And
very,
a million
is very
things.
important.
And you've been working on your game hard.
Yeah,
your
practice,
grip, your stance, your break.
I've
and
changed a
your
lot
whole
of it.
stroke. You've changed everything.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, I felt like when I started, I shot well, but there's a lot of little tweaks you learn from like players like yourself, and
thank you.
and you implement them in your game as best you can, and adapt them to your liking, and then
Sure.
you have no choice but to improve from there if you put in the work.
No, I couldn't agree more. This might be a tough question, but in your opinion, what's been the most important thing you've worked on since you came back? Because you're playing good right now.
Yeah, the mental focus and
That's so broad, though. Do you have anything more specific on the mental side? I know it's tough. It's a tough question.
It
It's
is,
not
but
always
it's
something
not.
you can
I mean,
pinpoint.
it's something you just kind of break down, and you go into each shot, and you have to really boil it down to making a decision, following through, and
Sure, commitment.
and committing and going through with the shot, really committing in your mind, and then letting everything go in your mind.
It's like so many things.
Then it's just one thing. I need to hit a little bit low left here and come back, and then
sure, decide what you're gonna do, commit 100%, and then be okay
with your decision.
With your decision,
you have to be okay with your decision, and then pull the trigger
and be honest with yourself.
If you're not honest with yourself and you're not fully committed, you will probably miss the shot.
Well, I think even the craziest players, the people that you just are out of their minds, we all know who they are. Those guys actually, they're the same way though. They have to be honest with themselves. You know, they at the end of the day, even if they're complete psychopaths when you run into them,
right?
They're thinking about their game and going, man, I made this error, this error, this error, and I'm not good enough at X, Y, Z. And then you go back to the table. You know, I think every player worth their salt that does that.
A lot of it for myself was the tournaments that I noticed I did the best in were the ones where I kind of gave myself a mantra for the whole tournament.
Oh, I'm huge on that, man.
Like repeating the same thing to yourself over and over and over again to keep your mind on that straight path, to where you're not going left or right and you're not thinking about other things. You're not hearing conversations. You're on the table. You're repeating something in your head over and over again.
Absolutely.
And
mine, watch the contact. Watch the contact. And I say, shut up, fool, a lot in my head.
Like, shut yourself off.
Yeah, I'm like, shut up, shut up. I'm like, why are you thinking about all that crap? It doesn't matter. Just make the ball.
Right.
I call myself a ton of horrible names.
We're all very hard on ourselves.
You have to be. It's a weird game.
It is, and I love it. But
it's that weirdness that makes the game lovable.
Yeah.
That's why not everybody becomes a good player. You have to be a certain kind of guy.
Certain kind of crazy,
that likes that kind of mental torture. It's one of those things. It's so hard that when you do get it right, it feels so good. You're like, oh, there's like 50 things I'm having to do right here.
And it's not like in golf where it's one shot. It's like, it's a rack. So it's a multitude of shots.
Yeah, that never gets brought up.
Everyone's over and over again.
Yeah, golf is harder. Golf is harder. And sure, golf has the weather. There's lots of things that make golf a harder game in some respects. But in pool, you got to keep making great shots over and over again. And it never lets up until the match is over. Hundreds of balls in some cases in these long matches.
Yep.
So, suck it, golfers.
Yeah.
We'd like some of that golf money, though, if y'all got any floating around.
Seriously, where's the money funneling for that sport?
What I wanted to ask, though, you've been traveling so much. Where's some of the places you've gone recently?
Recently,
in the last year?
Last year, we went to the one pocket match between Oricolo and Scott Frost, which was...
Oh, okay. Yeah. How was that?
Man, it was a cool trip. Got to see a couple pool halls I've never seen before, and that's always fun. And going into, famous pools, we stopped in Iowa and went to Big Dogs. And
it's good.
That pool hall is insane. And then we went to the Carom Room, obviously, where the match was. And Dave Coles has a real nice room up there, and very hospitable. And
nice.
Had a good time up there. I wasn't a one pocket fan.
Sure. Those guys will make you a one pocket fan, though. They play so good.
They kind of did. I mean, watching, the discipline that they both have, and Oricolo showed shot after shot after shot after shot, playing in his flip flops,
playing in his flops.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my God. How much are they playing for? 100,000?
Yes. He's just in jeans, they're sitting over in the corner just eating.
He's like
his
I'm from the Philippines. There's not enough chickens in this room to bother me.
It was almost it was kind of like golf, to where he had his crew. He had his caddy. He had somebody bringing him food and somebody bringing him a drink, and same with Scott. Everybody had their thing.
Hashtag balling, son.
Oh yeah.
Bring me a sandwich.
He made so many shots that you look at and you're like, what's he gonna do? And then he shoots the shot and you're like, oh my God, I would have never ever shot that, because I don't have the balls, for one.
Sure. You have small balls, I've heard.
Well, that's a terrible rule.
Yeah. He's like, never mind. But no, man, I tell you what, I lived in Phoenix for a while, and I got to watch Scott play all the time. And he's a freak. He's so good. So to watch Dennis just kind of beat him.
I mean, it was it was almost like a dismantling. Scott definitely wears his emotions on his sleeve, so you can kind of tell.
Vocal,
you can tell where he's at a lot of the times. Where Dennis is he doesn't get excitable.
Sure.
Very rarely do you see him kind of.
All the Filipinos, man, they're just chill. I don't know if he's just growing up in that madhouse pool scene they grow up in.
It's gotta be.
Like I said, there's not any chickens in that room. You can't face that guy. There's nobody.
There's
nobody talking to
We've
you
all
while you're
watched
down.
the YouTube videos of them playing, and it's like
crazy, man.
you got guys coming up, picking up stuff off the cloth while he's down in his shot. Like,
he's like, this table has an actual table light. Get away from me, son. You thought you could mess with me?
oh my god.
Yeah. No, they're playing the light from a window over there.
Exactly. So like, I mean, for them to, I mean, that's true grinding. That's learning how to play the game in the most, tough conditions.
Sure. Do you remember the score of that match? I forget. I saw it, but it's been a while back.
They went to 40. It was 40. Oh man.
That's all good. I just wonder if you remember.
I don't remember.
So how far away from that match, or how long was it until the Chohan match? Chohan and Okolo, because you were there for that too,
was
right?
no, I wasn't there for that one.
Oh, I thought you were there for that one.
No,
I
wasn't there for that one.
Okay, cool.
No, I didn't get to see that one, but I watched. You watched the highlights.
Everybody watched it on. Man,
Yeah.
that match was crazy. That's the best one pocket match I've ever seen in my entire life.
That went down.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Chohan made 20 shots that were mind-boggling. You're like, what? The one when he jumped with the full cue. Did you see that one where he jumped
I didn't get to see
over a ball into the corner? It didn't look like there was enough space and got all the balls out. It was silly. I'm describing that like crap.
Well,
it's on YouTube,
I play
guys.
a
You
lot
can
of more
check it
one
out.
pocket now, so I do understand what you're saying. And it's that game is a whole nother level of pool.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, you got to know what you're doing with the cue ball.
You do.
You
I
have
mean,
to
you got to have.
understand a lot more about the balls.
And you got to, I mean, talk about importance of one shot.
Oh, yeah.
One shot at a time in that game, and they're so important. And it's amazing how, I played a lot of rotation pool. And
Sure.
you just get you get in that flow, and you pocket ball, pocket ball. Then you play one pocket for an hour. And you've got your first shot.
And you completely forget how to make the ball.
Exactly. You're like, I've shot this a million times.
You get that one pocket stroke going on where you just been pushing balls up table or pushing balls across the stack. And all of a sudden they leave you a long straight in and you're like, oh, thank God, finally something.
Right.
And you dog it every time. At least
I
I
can't
do.
wait to get over that. Exactly.
Yeah, no, man. It comes up all that. You see pros do it sometimes.
Right.
Where they've been battling. They get a pretty good shot, step right up there and miss it.
Right.
It's just a weird. You got to shift those gears. And talk about one error. I'm famous for being up 6 balls and then making like just a flub shot and giving the entire game
Just
away.
like forget your brain for a
and
second
then wanting
and
to
just let it
break
go.
all my cues on the ground. Trying to get over that. It's cost me a lot in cues.
I've watched guys do it. I haven't actually broken any.
I've never done it. I've tried to break my cue, but I'm too weak. What do we got here? So no, you've been a lot of places though, man. Yeah, you went up there, but then you've just been going regionally. You've been going everywhere.
Four Bears.
Yeah,
a couple
you went
of
up to
years
Four.
in a
What'd you think
row.
about Four Bears?
Oh man,
It's crazy.
Do
huh?
you want to get me started on
Yeah,
Four Bears?
I would say I love Four Bears, but that'd be a lie. I don't love Four Bears.
I don't love it either.
I'm not the biggest fan of that tournament. It's cool.
I went up there for the 25th anniversary.
Sure.
So it was cool for me because it was one of the first tournaments I ever went to where I was going to be able to compete with pros.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So, it was for that, it was awesome. It was for going out there and competing with who I got to compete. I got to play against John Mora.
Oh, cool.
Made it deep enough in the 9-ball to do that.
Nice.
So you get to play, not the real, you get to play a way higher level of player.
Yeah, it's a different class.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing, and that's kind of what you're going for is that experience, and the seasoning of playing away from your home room, playing in different conditions. For one, when they did that, they had a new arena built So that first year I went was their first year in this new arena.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I went.
It's gigantic. I mean,
Back in the
it's
day.
like a huge auditorium almost with I mean, there's bleachers and a whole like press boxes, and I mean, it's like a stadium. It's like an
Wow.
inside. Yeah, I mean, so that's where you play, and they set up a whole bunch of tables on the floor, and there's a
Because
huge.
when I was there, it was in like an auditorium type deal, and it had some stands. But man, I went in like 2014, so maybe
Yeah.
that's the same place.
No,
No, it's
that
different
was
now.
new. Yeah.
Okay, well,
So
hell,
that was
cool.
the first year they had it. It would have been what 2016.
Oh, okay.
Was,
So
I
a couple
think-
years out there.
Yeah,
obviously.
would have been 2016 when I went. That was the first year. Food's horrible. Forebears, you need to improve your food.
Yeah, forebears, please.
Yes.
The food. Why does your casino close at like 9 p.m.?
Not good.
You have all these players trapped there that are all degenerate gamblers. Let's be honest, at least a third of them. Okay, going to give you a lot of money, myself included. Like you kick me off the poker table at 9. You know,
Yeah,
or
I
the
think,
blackjack table. I
I
should
think
say.
they've changed it a little bit. I think you get to stay out a little later now, but it's still, it's interesting.
And you're trapped.
Yeah.
You're so trapped. You're in North Dakota.
You're in Newtown,
You're
baby.
just-
You are.
There's
There's
nothing there.
one road in and one road
I
out.
hope you like rivers
Yeah, exactly.
and rocks. Yeah, no, that place is
man.
crazy. Yeah,
Ray,
after I
Ray
went,
put on a good tournament. It
oh
ran
man,
well.
Ray Hansen. You were talking about Ray Hansen,
Ray
right?
Poitras?
Oh, Ray Poitras. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. But Ray Hansen was doing the video, yeah?
Yes.
Big truck?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shout out to Ray Hansen. Cool dude. Does a good job with the streaming.
Mm-hmm.
I did some commentating when I was there in 2014.
Yep.
That was nice. Ray was nice enough to let
The
me do
second
that.
year I went, group from Canada was doing the
Oh, really?
the streaming
Oh,
and
okay.
everything.
I haven't noticed Ray being around as much. I wonder if it's just. It's a
not
tough
sure.
grind, man. You know, somebody was giving him a bunch of shit. Shane Winters or something down at down in Louisiana. You know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Tommy Tokoff just won the.
Oh,
Yeah, the name is escaping me.
escaping both of us.
Anyway, there's a large tournament held down near Lafayette, Louisiana, and the name is escaping me right now. Anyway, Shane Winters was giving Ray a bunch of shit about needing to be paid about being on there.
Oh,
and I'm
yeah,
not trying to call out Shane. I think it was a lot of people, not just him, so I don't want to give him shit.
Mm-hmm.
But Ray was upset because he's like, I don't make very much money doing this in the first place.
No, a lot of the streaming guys, man, they don't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
They're doing it for the heart. They're doing it for the love of the
You know how
game.
pool guys are, though. They add up the fund, and then
Sure.
they add up the fees, and they say, oh, this guy's making blah, blah, blah for 2 days. And
Sure.
they don't care that he had to travel from L.A. to
Right.
Louisiana or whatever.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, but anyhow.
Yeah.
People are...
It's tough. Pool is a tough sport in general to be at a high level in.
a high level of anything on the business end
Yeah.
or the playing
Yeah.
end. It's just a difficult thing.
Yeah, I know more about the business end than I do the player end at this point, but
Yeah, I was going to ask, actually, I wanted to get to your time at Quality Billiards. You started working
I started
at
working
Quality
there.
when?
2000.
Oh, 2000. Okay.
Yeah, just
Yeah, were you doing the counter or were you doing table work then?
I was doing table work. That was my first initiation into the pool world as far as mechanic goes.
How long did you work?
I worked there for 9 years.
Okay. Wow.
My first couple years, I was just helping out, learning kind of what to do,
Sure.
working underneath somebody else who did most of the stuff, and I just learned what I was doing. And then after that, they gave me my own guy,
Cool.
and had my own crew and started going out. And a little nerve-wracking at first because you're on your
Sure.
own. It's up to you now to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
And being a pool player that I was, it was like I wanted to make sure that these tables play perfect.
Sure.
Still do. That's my
Of course. Yeah.
that's my thing. Like I don't leave a table not perfect.
Sure.
I leave it better than it was when I arrived.
Yes,
That's
and I hear
just-
almost nothing bad about your work either. And I've
that's how I
personally
do it.
played on a ton of tables that you've worked on, and they're fantastic. So
Thank
well
you.
done, sir. Way not to suck.
I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
way to not suck anyway.
Yeah, I don't like sucking.
Yeah. So, well, comment on that later, man. Yeah, so- No,
Keep it PG.
yeah, man. I've heard otherwise. But anyway, let's go on from that. But no, man, you worked at Quality Billiards for 9 years,
Yep,
and then you went out on your own. You guys had like
yeah.
a little falling out, didn't you?
Yeah, I was manager there after a couple of years. The guy ended up quitting that was manager, so I took over his seat and worked there for a lot more years. The original owner, Roger Kraft, passed away.
I didn't know that.
About 5 years into when I was working there. Real nice guy, always helped me out. Lent me money to buy a car when my car broke down. I mean,
wow.
he was an awesome,
treating you well.
Yeah, awesome guy, treated me great. And he passed away, and it passed down to the kids, who then sold it to Quentin, who was the manager there, and now he's the owner.
Oh, okay.
So
and did you and him butt heads, or?
Not really, man. He treated me good too. It was just kind of time. I mean,
Sure. Well, you've been there 9 years.
I've been there 9 years, and I hadn't.
Put your time in.
There was a couple of things. I mean, I don't like bad mouthing people,
No,
but
no, no, we're
you're
not
promised.
trying to-
You're promised a few things that don't come your way, and it ends up being a little discouraging. And that's kind of what happened to me. So after 9 years, I decided, hey, I'm gonna try to do this on my own.
Sure. Sure.
I figured I had enough experience at that point. It's kind of funny in this industry when you start doing table work, you get repeat customers, so you get to see your work from years ago.
Sure.
So
sure.
So at 5 years, you get to see work at, you did it 2 years. And you're like, God, I was a hack. I was such a hack. Like, what was I doing?
We won't talk about where any of that old work is, Ryan.
You think you're good at 5 years, and then at 10 years, you see your 5-year work, and you're like, oh, geez, I thought I knew what I was doing, but I still kind of didn't know what I was doing.
Oh, geez. I see pool videos of me from 4 years ago, and it makes me want to puke. I'm like, oh, God, I suck so bad. Like, you won the tournament. I'm like, I sucked. I don't understand how everyone wasn't beating me.
Right.
So I feel you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. So, yeah, going off on my own was good for me. Worked just on the service side up until, for the next, what would it have been? 6 years, 7 years till I opened up my store.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I just did service. I had a shop up in Brighton that I stored tables in and did all my work in. And
oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, I had it was just a 1,000-foot garage space with a little office.
Still, though, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's all you need, man.
It was all I needed, and
Yeah.
it still would be nice to just have that again.
Sure.
Yeah.
The
good old days.
Yeah, the good old days when I just had a building.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, you did the shop thing. That's a tough grind, trying to sell pool stuff with the internet, man.
Yeah, dude, running a store for billiards is atrocious.
Why
so
is that?
difficult.
Tell the people out there, what are the difficulties you face trying to sell, pool apparel? Because it seems kind of like a no-brainer to a lot of people of like, man, people like cues, people like buying XYZ, and it just doesn't really work out that way. And I mean, obviously the internet,
The internet is what it is. The internet's great for everything but cues.
Because people want to feel
People want to feel it.
Yeah.
People want to hit with it. People want
Yeah.
to put chalk on and they want to hit with it. They want to.
I know I do.
Exactly. So the internet's great. It kind of phases you out of the little things, along with your pool halls and your bars. Because every pool hall and bar, they stock it. And a lot of the stuff is a matter of convenience. So if all of a sudden you're missing your scuffer in a tournament, you need a scuffer.
Yeah.
So you go to the bar and you buy it. You don't drive down
Absolutely.
to Anytime Billiards and buy it. You buy it
Absolutely.
at the bar. You buy it where you're at. If they have it, or you borrow it from a friend.
Sure. You steal your friend's scuffer.
Exactly.
That's my move.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Give me your tool.
Yeah. It's like, hey, man, can I borrow that
always liked
tool?
that thing.
Like, just make sure I give it back. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm totally trustworthy. I'll give it back. Yeah.
You're
It's
such
like a smoker with lighters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was
So
just
can I
thinking
borrow
that.
your lighter? Yeah.
Yeah.
They have like 9 lighters
Yeah,
in
it's
their
like a
car, and they
pocket
can't find the
full
one
for
they're
the end of
supposed
the
to
night.
have. Yeah.
Yeah. But that makes it tough as far as selling the little stuff like scuffers and a lot of the stuff is a long-term tool. Like when they do build a
Oh,
good tool, like you only
absolutely.
have to buy it once.
I'm on my second ultimate tip tool ever.
Exactly.
Ever.
Like I
Yeah.
will never have to buy another Brad Scuffer again. Like
Sure.
ever. Like
Yep.
they'd last forever.
And like cues, I'm a type of guy. I don't change cues ever.
No.
I'm playing with
hard
Mez cues. Shout out to Mez cues.
Not a lot of money in
Huge
pool, so it's
respect.
hard for people to buy cues.
Yeah,
So I mean, you don't get to buy a cue over and over and over again. People
Except
don't
we all
have
know
that
those guys
luxury.
that change cues like every year. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're that guy now.
I was that guy.
Man,
Now I've settled.
Didn't you go to that Predator crazy
I
black
went
shaft?
to the
Didn't
Revo,
you?
still have it, still love it. Shout out to Predator.
Oh my God, Revo's.
Oh, yep, like the Revo. Like the Revo. Got it on my McDermott butt, though, now.
Ooh, no.
No longer with the P2 butt from Predator.
Man,
Just
why'd you change? You don't like the the
I
Predator
didn't
butt
like
not
the
doing
look.
for
I
you?
kind of it was. We were in Iowa. And traveling to that
Oh,
tournament.
okay, I was gonna say preface that a little bit. Why were you in
we were
Iowa?
traveling to the tournament
Okay,
to the Orcolo match and the Frosty match, so we
okay.
stopped at Big Dogs for their weekly tournament. And I pull out my cues, and I'm hitting a few balls, and all of a sudden it just feels weird. I'm like, all right, something's not right here.
Typical pool player
You
shit.
check
It just
your
didn't
cue.
feel good to me one day. It couldn't have been your technique, you big lamp. I'm just kidding.
Never. I'm technically sound.
He's damn near technically perfect. That's true. Yeah.
So I looked at the cue, and unfortunately my shaft was cracked. I'm in Iowa. I don't have an extra shaft. I'm
brutal.
cueless, about to play a tournament. So Josh Ramey, Bad Roll Inc., shout out,
Yeah.
was kind enough to have an extra cue in his bag.
Yeah,
So
Josh always has a couple cues.
it happened to be that Revo, and it felt like crap at first.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so hard. It's such a weird thing to
it's
get
such
used
a weird
to.
thing to get used to. Yeah.
But the next day, once we got to our destination at the Carom Room, I shot for 13 hours straight with it.
Jesus.
I just shot and shot and shot. I was so upset. I'm like,
I borrowed a little bit of meth from a guy.
I was
shot
out,
for 13 hours.
I was out here to gamble. Like I literally wanted to go and I wanted to match up. And
Sure.
I wanted to
And now
gamble
you're
with
playing
people
with
I
that
didn't know.
Revo
And now I'm
shaft. You
playing with
can't
something
make
I
a
don't even know.
ball.
I can't make nothing. I lose out of the tournament. Like it was just, it was one of those things. But after that, I just kept it and kept shooting with it. And
Sure.
fell in love with it. And
Okay. And you've been hitting the ball good with it. I talk a lot of shit about those Revos just because I'm not a big fan. I do. Yeah. And to be fair too, I can't play with it at all. I've played with two of them now. Matter of fact, I was in Singapore and Sharik Saeed, I think I'm saying that right.
I think you're saying it right.
He had one. He was like, "Yeah, you want to play with my cue?" And I was like, "Sure." And I was like, "Man, I should have played with a house cue. I missed like everything I shot at."
Oh, man.
And he even told me, he's like, "Yeah, you're never gonna make a ball with that." I was like, "You're right. I'm never gonna make a ball with that."
It's so weird.
It's so weird. Yeah.
To when you shoot for years and years and years and you watch the ball deflect and it kind of, it's going to go out before it comes back in.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden you're hit with something and it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Every line that you've learned in your head is gone.
Oh God, that sounds like a nightmare.
It is
I
a
spent so
nightmare.
much time learning these lines.
It took 13 hours for me to kind of get it straight again.
Yeah. Well, all right though. Anyway, you're doing good with it now.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wanted to go back to the billiard industry though.
Yeah.
Because you and I had talked a bit about this a while back. I've been talking about doing this podcast for like 2 years and just never got it going. I thought Justin Collette from Tar, I thought he was going to do it.
Okay.
There was like a little bit of talk about him doing it. And there was part of me that was like, you know what?
Don't step on shoes.
Do it. I was
Right.
like, yeah, you go ahead, man. But who knows? He's probably thinks it's a pain in the ass too. And he's like, I'm not going to do it. And I think he's working some other job now. He's doing his thing. So maybe he just doesn't have the kind of time to invest.
Well, sure.
But we had talked a bit about the game on the industry side before and how it's just, it's not efficient.
It's impossible.
How so?
As a business
Explain that.
owner, pool manufacturers have it's not even their fault really, but it's just it's a formality of the business and the sport itself. The sport cannot sustain 6 stores, 7 stores,
Sure.
even in the Denver metro area as big
Sure.
as we are.
Sure.
We only have about 3 billiard stores.
Sure. Anytime's the only one I even know. I'm not Anytime, but Quality is the
Quality,
only one I even know of.
Yeah, you got Quality, Game Exchange, and then Fodor. And Fodor's is up north and they're down south. So
Oh.
they're your biggest.
Okay.
Fodor's your biggest name for selling things, mainly because they carry Olhausen.
Oh, okay. You know what? I have been into one of those. They're up there
Yeah,
in one of the shopping centers off 25. Yeah, I've seen them.
So, for instance, we'll say Olhausen. We'll just kind of block them in.
Sure.
Not their fault. But Fodor is the only one in Denver, and within a certain mileage range. I'm not sure what their company has
What the
as far as
policy
mileage.
is. Yeah.
But they're the only ones that can sell Olhausen.
Okay.
So Olhausen has built their name up for in-home pool tables, and they're fantastic playing pool tables.
Yeah, no, I like
They set up
Olhausens.
well. They're
Yeah.
mechanic friendly.
I think isn't that what is it? AccuFast? Right?
Yeah,
the
AccuFast
AccuFast
rails.
cushions
I mean,
are good.
They're
yeah.
good playing table, at home table. You can't beat them.
Sure.
But Fodor's the only one who can sell them.
Sure.
So
And for Olhausen, they're trying to protect their brand and protect their area.
That's all they can do, and they're trying to just survive. And Fodor has been with them for a long time, so I understand it's just part of the industry. If the industry was bigger, if we were a larger sport, and there was more, stores.
Sure. So what's your issue with that? What's your issue with the area?
With the areas, it just makes it really hard for anybody to come into the industry fresh.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So for me, when I opened up a store 2 years ago, you try to sell the most popular things.
Sure.
You find out that you can sell them, but you have to pay more for them because Quality Billiards already sells them. And they buy direct from Predator. I can't buy direct from Predator because Quality already does, and they're in my mileage range.
They're the certified supplier
Exactly.
of Predator.
So then
for
I
that
have
area.
to go
Okay.
through a distributor, Q-Sticks, and I've got to go order from them and pay a higher price.
Sure,
And then
sure.
I have to sell it at the same price Quality does.
Yeah, so you're not really price
Or
competitive.
lower.
You have to pay shit margins, and you don't make any money.
Right, you feel like
Yeah.
you kind of have to price it at least the same or a little bit lower to draw people in and get them into your store. What that does though is it eventually you don't have a bottom line. Like you don't make
Well, that's
you don't
the thing.
make enough money on the product to keep the
I know
store
from
open.
the kind of business that I do that there's a certain amount of margin that you have to keep to maintain your business, and it's higher than most people think just to break even.
Right.
Most of the time, most businesses say 30%. You need at least 30% margin on your products. Most
Right.
people are getting 35 or so, and I know Qs sometimes are as much as 50.
Right.
Yeah,
well, when I
but
first
you can't ever
started-
sell them for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I first started in the business, it was Keystone. It was everything. It was like if you pay $500 for it, you sell it for $1,000.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I mean, on every single item
Yeah.
or more, and that was kind of the benchmark that I was taught.
Sure.
From going through the industry, and when I opened my store, it was impossible to do.
Yeah, you're selling stuff for like 15% margin,
Yeah.
20% margin
Exactly,
when you
because
get a
I'm
good
already
deal.
paying it higher.
Exactly.
And unless you go to a trade show, which they have a
Sure.
couple of times a
Oh,
year,
yeah.
and you have the funds to buy in bulk,
Sure.
but then you're
sure.
sitting on 6,000 Q scuffers that you can't
maybe
sell.
you'll sell, maybe you won't sell.
Exactly, it's such a risk.
So
and the
you're
industry
saying-
changes so much that popular products stay popular, but there's so many new things that come out on it, and people jump and bite, and then it's
yeah.
gone. And then they jump and bite at the next thing, and then
Revo
it's
chefs.
gone.
What? I'm just kidding, man. But no, so you think the market should be more accessible?
I do. I feel like if you as a manufacturer are going to sell something to a store and yourself you're going to sell it online, you're not giving anybody a chance to succeed. You're keeping what you've done intact. So all your older stores,
Sure.
all your older stores are intact.
There's
but
no
eventually-
room for innovation. You're saying
None.
Fodor's, they're selling Olhausen, and they're selling Olhausen the way that they've been selling Olhausen for a very long time.
and they will continue forever the same.
From a customer's perspective, at least, doesn't seem to work that well. Olhausen, I mean, I don't know anything about their numbers, but I can't imagine that it's a lot of growth. And
I
so
don't-
you're stuck in this one way of selling because of these protected areas. So yeah. I mean, that's a toughie. I mean, I'm not saying Olhausen's crazy or anything like that, but
And it's not just Olhausen; it's every
everybody.
manufacturer.
Sure. Does
It's-
Diamond do that?
Yep, Diamond does it.
Diamond, same thing.
Conley does it.
Sure.
Brunswick does it.
Sure,
They
sure.
all do it. You have to literally I was almost on the cusp of buying 10 Rassens.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what you have to do. You have to jump on somebody who's just coming out.
Sure.
Nobody has them yet, and
Yep.
you got to be the first. Well, unfortunately, I didn't have $25,000
Sure.
to invest in a crate to get it shipped over here with everything. So, I mean, you can't just buy one.
Oh, of course.
You can't just
Of
buy
course.
two.
Yeah.
You've got to buy 10.
Well, it's wholesale, so yeah.
Well, and it comes from overseas, so it's
Of
not
course.
something
Yeah,
that's
they
local.
gotta ship it in
If it's
bulk.
local, they can ship you one.
Sure.
It's not worth it cost-wise for them to ship you one. They have to ship you 10.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, who did EJ Glode get Rassin? Somebody.
no,
I thought
they
somebody got it.
donated a table to him.
They donated a table. Yeah.
For advertisement or whatever.
And
what have
they
you.
had one for the Moscone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've
Yeah,
played
that-
on them. They're okay.
I haven't played on one yet.
I've played on several of them at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely prefer the diamond, but it's like anything else. You put Rassins out there, I'll learn how to play on Rassins. I don't really care
Right.
at the end of the day as long as they roll straight and the rails aren't crazy or anything like that.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I feel you though. You got to jump in on that, and then that's how you make a market for yourself.
Right. You have to be the guy to jump on Olhausen first.
Sure.
You know, you have
So
to.
do you think that it I mean, well, I think everybody thinks that the industry needs to change or be more accessible. I mean, what are your ideas on that? I mean, I don't really know that much. I've never been in the billiard industry, but it definitely seems, I mean, it's so weak, and you can blame a million things, you know, but what are your thoughts on that? Right or wrong, by the way?
It's hard to pinpoint what can improve.
Sure.
The problem is almost societal. Like I want it now.
Sure.
I want it fast.
Sure.
And everything is accessible online. And it's
Yeah.
amazing how many people are actually, buying cues online.
Sure.
I mean,
God, everybody I know.
Beginning players, even advanced players, they'll buy cues online. There's forums on Facebook where people are selling used cues all the time.
It's a cottage
it's
industry there, man.
insane,
People, I
dude.
know people that buy and sell cues and they don't even have jobs.
Exactly.
That's all they do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, it's good for the industry, but no, it's not good, and I don't know how to fix it.
Sure.
With the internet and buying things online, and it's not going away.
Oh, well, of course not. And I think overall it's probably a good thing. You know, I mean, just a convenience point for the customer, but also you can move a lot more product to a lot more people than
Yeah.
you used to be able to. So, yeah, it's definitely not going anywhere. And it seems like the culture of the game will inevitably be the breakthrough to success.
Yeah.
You know, changing, if pool were to become more popular in general,
Right.
then, a lot more room for
Everything
the
can
industry.
change.
Everything
Absolutely.
could change. And one thing that I want to just point out, and I've been thinking a lot about this, it pisses me off a little bit when people are saying, oh, pool's dead, pool's, there's nothing.
I agree.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have never seen this many tournaments. I have never seen
I agree.
this many people trying to do
agree.
stuff. There's a huge market every time. The World Pool Series, Darren Appleton doing a great job. The Mez West Coast Tour doing a great job. The Joss Tour isn't as popular as it used to be. I don't know if Mike Zuglin still has anything to do with that, but he was doing a great job with it in the early 2000s. But that tour, is great. There's tours all over the place, and I'm forgetting
A lot.
15 of them.
I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, that's not good either.
Exactly. The pie is
Having-
too cut up.
Yeah,
The pie is way too cut
There
up.
is no unity in this sport.
Well, why is there 15 league
Zero.
systems? Why is
Zero
there-
unity.
I hate it. Yeah.
Nobody wants to be together as one rule system, one way to play the sport, like every other. That's why we're not considered a sport.
Exactly.
Because we have no unity.
Well, the Olympic Committee, we couldn't even we couldn't even decide on a set of rules to present.
Of course not. There's 17
there's
sets
17
of rules.
sets of rules.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't. That's part of the huge problem with the industry is there's so much separation, so much. Look at me, look at me,
Sure.
look at me. Not
Well, you
look
got,
at us.
What,
Look at
TAP,
me.
ACS, NAPA. You have all these leagues that are, sure, they're fine on their own. I don't want to hate on them, but there's all these little league systems with their little piece of the pie. And then you got VNEA that seems to be slowly dying, sadly, which I
understand.
love the VNEA. I love the people that work there. They're very nice, but it seems to be failing.
Yeah.
So you've got Mark Griffin in the BCA, got some money and power behind that. But then you've got the APA.
Right.
which might as well be a whole different. I mean, it's
It's
you
gigantic
can't
in its own
compare
right.
those two. It's
insane.
giant, but it's not real pool. I mean,
no, it's not.
yeah.
To somebody who, no offense to APA players.
Exactly. No offense, but
Not
hey,
at
man,
all.
the truth is the truth.
Yeah, there's a graduation day, and you graduate from APA.
Oh,
It's
unless
like-
you don't, unless you're a lifetime 3.
Exactly.
You know, but then it's like a bowling league. You know, you don't go into a bowling
they're
league
doing it for fun.
to become a professional
and that's
bowler.
what
Yeah,
they're tapping into. That's what the APA is tapping
Sure,
into. Is
and they've
just
done a
that
good job that
section.
way.
Yeah.
And I think they also do a great job at introducing people to the game that might never have been introduced to it,
Right.
for sure. But then they punish you for becoming good.
Absolutely.
The better you get, the less the APA really wants you there.
Right.
And if you don't want to, for whatever reason, if you're, not comfortable with moving up to a BCA or VNA league where it's going to be tough and you're going to have to get better, or you're going to get your ass kicked all the time,
Right.
then you just stay in the APA and you suck and you think that's pool.
Right.
You know, sorry,
Yeah.
but hey, you know.
Well, and you run into a lot of people that get angry. Like unfortunately, league play, people take it very seriously, and they get upset when they lose.
But you mean you're talking APA in particular?
Any
or
league,
just any league?
Any league.
Well, yeah,
I mean, I've been in.
that's
It's
just
just
sport, though,
it's
isn't it?
just silly. It is, but it's not. It's to a degree sometimes in pool leagues where it's out of control. It is supposed to be fun. It's not. Yeah, when you get on the main stage and you go to Vegas and you're going to compete for BCA Nationals, turn it on.
Sure, absolutely.
At league, have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah, pool players are a notoriously
dear
crazy
God in
bunch,
heaven.
though, man.
I know.
And we've all done it. We've all done it. How pissed have you been playing pool? So mad that you just couldn't even contain yourself.
Yep.
It's remarkable
Weekly.
how. Yeah, the game will
Yeah.
make you so mad.
Yeah.
It's just the most
does.
frustrating thing I've ever done in my life.
It does, but when you take it out on another player,
Well,
that's
the
where I
key.
have a problem.
Well, and that's something that I
So-
think Asia and Europe are kicking our asses at, just the etiquette in general.
Sure.
We don't teach the etiquette here.
Right.
And a lot of the good players have shitty etiquette. Mm-hmm. So, that's who you're looking up to.
Right.
So, it perpetuates.
It is. It is. I've always been a huge proponent of sportsmanship. Period.
Yeah,
Point
and
blank.
you do very well. You have a good reputation.
I just.
Not like me. I get pissed off and yell.
Yeah. Everybody hates you.
I hope that's not true.
Definitely not. But.
No, I feel you though, man.
I wish there was just more unity. I wish we could get under one umbrella. I feel
That's
like
the key, isn't it?
the industry will not advance until we do that.
Sure.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way, man. I mean, as much as so many people would hate this, but I mean, I wouldn't mind the BCA taking over like the whole thing, like monopoly
Right,
style.
exactly.
And would it be unfair? Sure, it would be unfair, but at least somebody would have leverage.
Well, there's
Right now, nobody has any leverage.
That's what sport is. You
yeah,
have
it's a monopoly. The NFL
the
is a
NFL,
monopoly.
the PGA. I mean,
Yeah, that's
the NBA,
true. There's always one association,
the
not
NHL.
14.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why they're successful.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know what? I have thought of it that way, but not in a long time. And yeah, absolutely. You always have one organization that runs sport. One. Major League Baseball,
Yes.
son.
There it is. MLB.
Yeah.
Like, you play by their rules.
Exactly.
If you want to come
And
up
that's
and you
the
want to be a
standard set.
professional baseball player, that's what you do.
Exactly.
If there's a young kid out there and he wants to be a professional pool player like I was, I had no direction of where
course.
to go.
Well, people are so out of touch. I still get talked, or people still talk to me about getting your pro card. It's like, oh, you're going to get your
Like
pro
the old
card?
Camel Tour?
I'm like, that hasn't existed since I think 2001
Right.
was the last season. Like, there's no such thing. They're like, oh man, are you going to go pro?
Are you gonna go? I
And
know.
I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. I could just quit my job today and say, I'm a professional
We can
pool
go play
player.
tournaments with pool players, with so-called professional pool players.
Yeah.
The same tournaments. There is no special exemption except for world play.
Sure. Yeah,
You know?
there's a few tournaments you have to qualify for.
Sure.
The World Pool Masters, Moscone Cup, etc.
Yep.
But
But everything else, I mean,
Derby, just show up. U.S. Open,
show
pay your
up,
money.
pay your money,
Yeah,
get in. You
The
can go play.
jamborees, the turning stone, pay your money.
I do love that about this sport.
Well,
If
that's cool.
you-
The entry couldn't be easier.
yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you can go play the Tiger Woods of your sport. You can pay $150 to enter the Wyoming Open and have a chance to play Shane.
To play your heroes, absolutely.
That's what I did last year. I got to play Johnny Archer.
Sure.
My dream come true.
Absolutely.
Boom. And all I had to do was pay $150 to go try to compete in a tournament.
Yep. Try to pay $150 and play with Tiger Woods.
You can't do it.
Can't do it.
You can't even drive there for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, man, I agree 1,000%. Every time, like, it's sad because a lot of my good friends are in the league business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love these people; they're good people.
Right.
But I'm like, you're all divvying up the pie.
Yeah.
More and more and more. And then what happens? They're all like, oh, I need players for this, and I need players for that, and I need players for this. I'm
Nobody's
like,
gonna
yeah,
have players.
there's 15 league systems taking all the players. So now you got 15 tiny-ass leagues that suck.
Right.
You know, when I remember back in the day when I was a kid, the BCA league in town was a monster. You know, you had 18 teams. You had to split it between bars, 20 teams, 25 teams. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And now I don't remember the last time I played in a league that had 12 teams.
Yeah. They're all small.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
They whip them together and they start them with 6-8 teams. Like, let's get them going. Bam.
Yep, because it's a business. You got to
Exactly.
keep the profit coming in.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't blame them for that for sure.
No, it is what it is. And when you can only get that many teams because there's only so many nights, there's only so many teams, and there's only so many players.
And then every single league system that I know of, I mean, with at least some small variance, plays with a different set of rules,
Oh, yeah.
which is maddening.
Mm-hmm.
Maddening.
Yep.
And then this one we're going to play a race to 6 or whatever, and this one we're going to just play one game like the
Well,
BCA
and the ranking,
format.
like how to rank a player. Like,
How to rank a player that you
Give me
can
a
talk
break. I mean,
10 hours about that.
it's
insane.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And everyone like, okay, Fargo rate, Fargo, sure, I'm down.
We all
Let's do
that's like the umbrella thing. It's like we all have to literally attach ourselves to something.
Yeah.
So if we all did it, if we all jumped on Fargo and was like, hey, it would actually work.
No, and by the way, big ups to those guys. At least they're trying. That
Yeah.
took balls.
That's
that
a
took
lot.
balls to introduce the Fargo system
Right.
and say, nope, we're going to do it. And I know you're all going to bitch about it, but
Right.
we're still going to do it because we think
It
in
needs
10
to be
years it's
done.
better for the game. And it will be. It will be. And, I mean, everyone hates it. I've had some Fargo matchups that were just ridiculous where I'm going to
Well, the
8
thing
and
is
they're
now
going to
because
2
it's
and they
so
can
new,
break and run as well as I can.
even though it has many years in its thing, it's still new. So everybody is underranked.
Sure.
The whole entire world. I mean,
Possibly.
I mean, everybody, as soon as everybody gets on the same, and if everybody's in, then everybody's rank can be what it is.
Sure.
But until everybody's in,
Well, and you got to build up your robustness or whatever. I should really learn more about.
well, what's
the
nice
Fargo
about it is,
system.
I mean, you have
I
to
don't
play
really know that much
you
about
have
it.
to log 500 games.
Is that what it is? 500
Yeah,
games.
500 games to give you a robust rank, so they
Okay.
can say definitively that the last 500 games you've played,
You've
this is how you've
performed
played.
like this.
Exactly.
Okay.
So until
I
you're
must have 500 games. Then. I
yeah,
didn't
you
know
have
that.
to.
Yeah.
You have to. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
No, you were on Josh's top 100 list that he put
Yeah,
out
yeah,
for my
yeah,
page.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
yeah, if you were on that list, then you're already
Formally
established.
ranked.
You're
And I know I
established.
was. I mean, I play the Masters every year, the Platinum Division, whatever they call it now.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
That's definitely Platinum. I don't know why I act like I don't know what it is. I'm like, Platinum, whatever, bro. Like, I'm too
Yeah.
big. Like, no, it's Platinum, son.
I'm not
Platinum,
that good,
gold.
but I play in it.
Yeah. But no, I think it's a good move and big for them.
Mm-hmm.
Big for them. Like I said, they took a big risk there. But all these haters, man, haters gotta hate. They gotta
All
have
day.
something to do, man.
All
they gotta
day.
just typing away. They're like, can
Behind
you
their
believe this
little
bullshit?
computer.
BCA, they're failing. Have you seen the BCA championships? They're failing every year. They're going. I'm like, no, bitch, no, they're not. They're
are you
not
talking
failing.
about?
Stop it. Yeah, you're coming off real dumb.
Yeah. Yep.
But watch, somebody's going to post on the thing and be like, actually, the numbers for BCA have fallen
down.
7% over the last 9 years. So you're an idiot that should do research. Yeah, I am. I'm an idiot that should do more research. Deal with it. Yeah.
I do my research with my eyes.
Well,
I could see.
I go pretty much to BCA. I go pretty much every year.
See, that's one I haven't got to go yet.
You haven't gone there yet?
No, I went to.
Dude, that's the best one.
I know. I've kind of
Like, I love VNEA, but it
I've-
feels like going to a big-ass local tournament. The BCA one is the shit. It's like professional,
I
man.
totally understand what you're saying because I haven't been there yet. But I went to VNEA and I went to Napa. Napa was my first nationals that I ever went to, which was still cool for me. I was like, holy crap, I'm playing against.
Sure.
What I did like about Napa was their stats are online, so you could see them right away. And you had a national rank. Like, so they put you up against all of the other league players, and holy cow, I'm in the top 100 in the nation for Napa.
Sure.
Makes you feel like you're something.
That's cool. Absolutely.
So, yeah, you go out there, and that's what I did. I went out there, and I played that one, and then I played VNEA for 2 years in a row now. So I went to Napa, then I went VNEA. And then this year I was going to try to go to BCA. We'll see if it works out.
Sure. I'm just going to play the platinum and maybe like the 10 ball or something and bounce.
Gotcha.
I don't want to be there
I
forever.
was intimidated by it the first time, to be honest with you. I didn't know what to sign up for.
You should.
They're like 140 tournaments, 6,000 tables. Sunday. Come down.
It's like, what do I sign up for? I'm just a pool player.
There are like 1,700 divisions nowadays.
Dude,
You're
it's
like,
crazy.
I don't even know where I'm at.
Yeah,
Who am I? Who
yeah.
are you guys?
Yeah, so I would have gone, but I was honestly
Is
intimidated.
Las Vegas in the U.S.? No. No, well, it's cool. You would be in the gold division.
Yeah,
For sure.
I could start off.
Good gold player, son. Got to get in there. Swat some flies.
Thanks, sir. Thanks.
But no, I like BCA, though, because it's the stiffest competition.
Right.
They're all tough. BCA's especially tough.
Well, when you get to a certain level, that's what you have to improve.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is why the BCA is the best one, man. It's the competition's better, the equipment's better, the setting and production value of it is way better. It's not even close.
If you're a pool player out there and you want to improve, play in the BCA.
Yeah, playing the BCA, man. I mean, people hate. They're like, oh, Mark Griffin, he's got this money and he's cheating the players and he's doing all this stuff. I'm like, oh, come on, dude.
People hate on successful people in every part of life.
Everyone hated, and I get it. They had 3 challenges, 3 of the pro challenges, 9 ball, 10 ball, 8 ball, right? Where all the pros were, could play in it. And they didn't pay very well. Okay? Sure. I agree with them. For if you're a professional trying to make a living, they didn't pay very well. Sure.
Right.
Those bar table tournaments were in between the 2 professional tournaments that did pay well.
Right.
That's what, they gave them something to do. It was almost, I'm sure I'm wrong in some way about this, but it was almost just a charitable thing, but then people were like the entry fee was $200 or whatever. I get it. That's pretty high if you're not going to get paid. Not saying there's no problems with it. I'm just saying that, hey, at least there were events for them to play in on the bar table. In years past, you just couldn't.
Right.
You just couldn't. It was known ability and you were out, baby. So at least now you had 3 events to play in.
Right.
And guess what? Everybody played. Everybody bitched, but everybody played. And, most of the people are going to lose money on the deal. I get it. But I think people are giving Mark Griffin a lot of shit when he's doing a lot for the players, man.
Well, dude, there's a lot of industry leaders out there that don't give back to the sport.
The majority.
They make a lot. They make a lot off the sport, and they don't give back, and that's because they're all hiding.
No,
they're all hiding by themselves. They're not under that umbrella. They all get to be out by themselves, do whatever they want to do, and no one's saying anything.
Sure.
They're all helping themselves out instead of the sport itself.
Sure.
So that's what I mean by hiding. They're not under an umbrella right now. They can do whatever they want.
Sure.
So,
Well, there's no real governing body. The BCA.
The smart ones will add money to a tournament, but unfortunately, all it takes to add money to a tournament is a couple $1,000.
Sure.
There is no I would love it if Predator would throw 50,000 at a tournament. They don't.
Well, where's the value add for them, though?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? How do they justify that kind of money?
It's too hard to pinpoint and boil down to what has to be fixed first. But there has to be a step where, okay, we've got to do this first to start to improve this sport. And then we all have to do this. I don't know what that is, but it would be nice if everybody could get together and talk about it.
Well, that's the key, consolidation. The pool, 100%. It needs a heavy dose of professionalism, for sure. I'll be the first to say. But consolidation is inevitable. It has to happen.
Right.
And is it difficult? Sure. Have a lot of people done a lot of very hard work to carve out their niche in Napa or to carve out their niche in Tap League or whatever? Yes, and I'm not discrediting their work. But in a way, you're hurting the sport, in my opinion. You're hurting the sport. You're bringing players to it, so, kudos. But you don't have any kind of plan. There's no professional stepping stones. I mean, you just have Napa League. You just have Tap League. It's good for the area. Fun leagues playing. Cool. But there's got to be some association that steps up and takes the bar and says, no, we're the BCA. We make the official rules for the world. If you want to become a professional sporting pool player, sporting, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense, but you know what I mean. Yeah, there's a ladder here. And right now there's not even a semblance of a ladder.
No.
You know, there's a bunch of amateur tours, no pro tour.
Right.
So what's it even mean to be amateur tour? They might as well call those the pro tour. All the pros are playing on them anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's wild out there.
It is. I enjoy it kind of as a player because you can go out there and play whoever you want to play. But
Well, it's
there
best
should
for the
be
amateur. For the amateur, it kicks ass.
absolutely. But
Yeah.
for the professionals out there, it's got to
It's-
suck.
It's brutal.
It's got to suck.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Really, I mean, like I say, can't imagine. But
Well, you're pretty much a pro.
no, shut up. No, I'm not. But yeah, I've,
gonna turn pro, Adam?
never. Yeah. But no, I've done it. I mean, I've definitely haven't had a job for a while and just played. And oh boy, that is a tough gig, sir.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Mentally-
I'm glad I
mentally
have
and
my hands
physically.
on pool tables and other forms to not have
Absolutely.
to make a living playing this
Yeah,
sport
man,
because it's
it's,
difficult. I've never played a harder sport.
I haven't either. And people that don't play, dude, they laugh at that. They laugh at that. They say, "Oh, come on, man! Like, how you can drink and play pool?" I'm like, "Bitch,
Not
shut
good.
Up. Shut up! Yeah, like just stop
You
right
can drink
there.
and play golf.
Yeah,
Everybody
exactly.
does.
Everybody
They
drinks.
drive you up a beer. Here you
Exactly.
go.
They'll bring you a beer right
Yeah.
there. Yeah. So no, people don't have no idea how hard the game is.
No. Nope.
Yeah.
No
I mean,
clue.
one of the things I wanted to ask everybody that came on the podcast is like, why, in your opinion, why is the game so hard?
Ooh.
I know that's such a huge question, but just in your own words, so why is the game so hard?
Because it's grueling. You don't think of it as grueling physically, but it's grueling physically. It's grueling mentally. And if you don't have your wits about you and you have all your ducks in a row and what you have to do, you will ultimately fail. Whether the person across from you with the other cue is going to fail worse than you because they have prepared worse than you don't know.
You have no idea. Yeah.
But as long you've got to prepare and you have to grind, and
Absolutely.
it's such a mental task. It's almost like equating it to a driver. Okay, somebody who drives for a living.
Oh, okay.
That guy doesn't do anything. He sits there and drives a truck.
Right. Yeah.
He doesn't do anything. Have you ever taken a road trip?
Sure.
Have you driven
It's
for 16
grueling.
hours
It's
straight?
grueling.
Your body breaks down. Your mind breaks down. Everything breaks down. And if you don't keep your body fueled, you don't keep your mind right, guess what? You're going to wreck your car.
Sure.
You're going to go right off the road.
Or just even have to stop and go to sleep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
no more progress. I mean,
Yeah.
the game's similar.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it is. That's what makes this sport so hard, is your mental capability. Like, you're always playing yourself. You're always playing the table.
Absolutely.
You know, it's weird, but it's so hard to
Get
move.
up in the
Sorry,
mic a little
my
bit.
bad.
There you go. Yep.
It's so hard to move that little white ball around where
Yeah.
you want it to
Well,
go.
that's one thing I think a lot of people don't understand. Or even if they do understand, maybe you don't think about it all the time. You have to pocket the ball, which is in and of itself is not always easy. With spin, which of course throws the whole game into a whole nother dimension, but then control the speed of the cue ball
Yeah.
while it spins and bumps off these rails in such a way that's not completely uncontrollable. That's why the first couple of years you play, it's just a nightmare. You're just all over
have
the
no
place.
idea
You
what's
have
going
no
on.
idea what's going
Yeah,
on.
you have no clue.
A
You don't
guy
know where the
told
cue's
me
going.
when I was starting playing, was a guy named Mickey Provincio, crazy cat, a good player, but a guy I grew up playing around, and he was the best player in town, so we learned a lot from him. And he always said, he goes, "If you knew how hard it was gonna be, you wouldn't have started, huh?" And I
Right.
was like, "Yeah, you wouldn't." People don't think. Everyone thinks, a couple years I'll be really good. A couple years, you'll just now know what the hell you're doing a little,
Exactly.
kinda. You'll sort of know how to do it.
And for the what's hard about the sport too is when a player is really, really good, they make it look easy.
Yep. It looks so
So
simple.
when somebody watches pool on ESPN, they're like, he's not doing anything.
Yeah, it's so
There's
simple.
nothing special here.
Yeah.
Which, until you play the game at a higher level, you have no idea how difficult what he is.
Oh, yeah. They just, it's like anything. You can get real good at stuff.
First of all, when you start out playing, like, they don't have any idea those guys are even playing on 9-foots.
Well, yeah,
Everybody here-
nowadays the
you know,
7-footer's so popular.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many holes without.
And of
without
course, a lot
9-foot.
of people have a real strong opinion about that, man, that the 7-footer's part of ruining the game. And I mean, man.
Well, it turned it into a bar. It turned it,
it
into
did.
a bar game.
It turned it into a bar game, which is brutal. And no other country plays on the 7-footer, man. Not like we do. We play on it so predominantly.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was part of the problem with selling stuff in the industry is every bar has a pool table.
Yep.
If you open up a bar, you typically put a pool table in.
Sure.
1, 2 pool tables, something.
Yep. Standard operating procedure.
That's what has become in our nation with pool.
Sure.
And then they found it also stems from greed.
Oh, yeah, you can fit more of them in,
Yeah,
pack more
fit
people
more
in.
more
Sure,
people,
they're
more
cheaper to
people playing
buy,
games.
cheaper
Absolutely.
to maintain.
Everything.
Yeah. And for tournament promoters, I mean, we've both heard it. We've been around a lot of tournament promoters. You host a big table tournament, you're lucky to get 32 players.
Exactly.
You host a bar table tournament, you'll get 100. I mean, it's just, if I was a promoter, I mean, God, which one do you want to do? You want to
play
do
on
the
the
bar
7-foot.
table tournament.
You have to.
And the problem is now, I shouldn't say everyone. People in the Midwest, predominantly, are losing the big table game. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's definitely pockets of it. Absolutely. St. Louis, plenty of different areas.
That alone changes the whole sport.
Absolutely. It's not that much of a sport.
No.
Yep.
No.
Hell, I've won a lot of bar table tournaments drunk. I'm just saying,
Right.
I'm not proud of it. I'm just saying, but can I win a big table tournament drunk? Hell no.
Right.
Not a chance. I won't drink a drop. Mm-hmm. Because you got to focus. Just making a kind of a medium straight in shot on the big table. And you better hit the ball pretty good, son.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. To control it, come around 3 rails.
Or whatever.
Stop right here on a big table versus a small. It's a whole different world.
You can keep on running out of shape little by little on the bar table and still squeeze over the finish line.
Yep.
Where on the big table, you
You're
almost
like
never get
three
there.
shots in, you're toast.
Yep, you're toast.
out
And you
of
got to
line.
play safe and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And,
Exactly.
So, yeah, man.
Yep.
But no, the difficulty of the game, though, back to the question, the mental side, huge, obviously, and figuring out what you personally need to do to wrap your own mind around the mental game.
Right.
It's a little different for everybody. I mean, like you said, the most important thing you've learned in the last couple of years is that mental side.
Right.
And it's tough to even put your finger on what exactly that was.
What does that
You just know you got better.
Right. Yep. And it's putting out the little things. It's
The whole damn game is the pointing out the little things, isn't it?
Yep. It's just you've got to pay attention. And that was what kind of changed my game. Is I went from just putting the balls around and just I was good at pocketing balls. I knew my shape, but I didn't really pay attention.
Sure.
So paying attention, doing drills helped me a lot.
Sure.
And that was the hardest thing for me.
Drills.
Self-discipline, practice.
Oh, yeah.
Just
me too.
playing by myself, putting myself through drill after drill after drill is very hard.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, most people never do it.
Right.
Most people never do it. You show me all the good players in the room, and I'll show you all the guys that sat down one day and were so sick and tired of losing
Right.
that they were like, you know what? Fuck. I really don't want to do it, but I'm going to put myself through all these paces to really learn where the cue ball goes, to really learn how to pocket XYZ shot,
Yeah, because it's not a lot of times, yes, it's getting to the right side, getting to the correct side of the ball is always important, but there is a line on how to get there.
Oh, big time, man.
And it's
Well,
a small line.
You ask 10 good players, though, you might get 10 different answers.
You will get 10.
Yeah, you will get
answers.
10 different
Yeah.
answers, and it's crazy. And 10 guys that both run out all the time,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
And what do you say about that?
Right.
You know, and then people go, oh, well, you know, everybody, you know, we know these guys. I will not name them because I don't want to get in a shit fight immediately upon releasing this. But you know, there's always those guys. You know, you run out and they're like, oh man, like why didn't you shoot it that way? And you're like, dude, I just ran out.
got out. What
Like, does it matter? Like, I don't care if I played the whole thing behind my back. There
are those guys.
There's those guys. It's never good enough. It's just never good enough.
Well, it's not the way they do it.
Well,
So
they
it's
want to talk
not-
percentages.
right.
You know, oh, well, the percentage wise, if you'd played that 2 rails, you actually have more room for error. You're like, bro, but I didn't. But I didn't do it that way.
I'm more
it doesn't
comfortable
matter.
doing it this way, so
Sure.
I shoot it this way.
Well, a lot of guys will spin a ball in when they just need to make sure to pocket it.
Right.
You know, which statistically, you know, should
lower
be-
your
Yeah, you
chances.
lower your
Yeah.
chances. But if you're used to throwing the ball in with outside, which we all are, if you play a lot of rotation, you throw the ball in with outside. You know,
A lot.
70% of the shots or something crazy.
Yeah.
And you know, I know that way. Sometimes when I'm under a ton of pressure, I shoot stuff with like low outside to hit the ball fat.
Right.
You know, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing. I'm hitting the ball fat, so
Right.
I give myself what at least feels like more margin for error.
There's so many different, like the pocket's a certain size. You don't have to make it in the center. You can make it on the
Sure.
right side. You
Sure.
can make it on the left side. You can make it on the left side with right English. You can make it on the right side with left English. And then the cue ball goes a whole different direction.
Oh, of course.
So
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
You can play it all kinds of different ways and still be successful.
Sure. And you see it. You see it every tournament you
Oh,
go
yeah.
to. You got a bunch of odd styles.
Yeah,
You know,
for
especially
me,
in the U.S.
I feel like for myself, I use more draw than I use follow.
Me too. I like to kill the ball.
Yeah,
a lot.
most of the time.
But one thing, I play so much on the bar table now. You're always killing the ball, slowing the ball down, killing the ball, which lends itself to a lot of draw shots.
Yeah.
A lot of drag shots. You know, a lot of punch follows.
Yeah, we
and
play in a
stuff.
lot of tables where they're not the greatest. So I mean,
Yeah,
there's
that's
shots that you learn that
bar
hold your
table
line where
scene.
you got to use draw. You know.
Yeah, and there's something satisfying about pocketing the balls with draw. Like, I feel like I have more control, and that could be just total BS, something I've made up in my mind. But I feel like I control the shot the whole way.
Mm-hmm.
When I
Feel it better.
Yeah, when I draw the ball. And when I follow it, I dog a lot of like my long follow shots because I feel like I'm letting the ball loose.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I
I
know what you
shouldn't feel that way, but that's how it feels in my soul.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, nah, man, that's why the game's so hard.
Yeah.
There was no conclusion there, but
No, I mean
it's just brutal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little things, basically, a lot of little things that add up to a big thing.
Right.
You hope they add up to a
Yeah,
big thing.
they hope with the 8, 9, or 10 ball going in the hole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or your 8th ball in one pocket.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no, man. I'm not sure if I had anything else for you. Is there anything you wanted to say? Tell the people.
Oh.
What do you want to do? Do my best,
No, I
Obama?
just
Is there anything you want to tell the people
I don't do voices
before you leave?
Um,
Before you leave this great nation.
no, I appreciate you having me on, man.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
And we'll have you on again for sure once I get this thing a little more smoothed
Sure.
out.
Sure, I'm happy to be your first guest. So
Do a little ABC action on what I need to
just,
do as far as...
I'm looking forward to the Wyoming Open this weekend. Good luck to
Ooh,
everybody out there.
yeah.
And
That's going to be a good one. Yeah, all you guys traveling up to the Wyoming Open, we'll see you there in just a couple of days. You going up Thursday?
I'm going up Thursday. Yep,
Okay,
Playing in the Pro-Am tournament.
Oh, the blind draw Scotch doubles?
Yep.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, going to play in that and then playing in the experts.
Cool.
Going to try to snap that off.
Oh, man, you can.
Gonna make them force me to be a master.
I was going to say, you've got the fire.
I'm there, baby. I'm ready.
How'd you do last year? Did you play in the experts?
I played Masters last year.
Oh, yeah, you just said...
I was like, screw this.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't want to play in the Masters, mainly because I didn't want to play. I wanted to play in the rec center. Like, I wanted to be in kind of one area, so I knew if I played in the Masters, I wasn't going to be traveling around town.
For those of you guys that don't know, a lot of these Wyoming tournaments, they won't actually have a area large enough to house all the pool tables. So they actually do something that's kind of cool. It makes the tournaments pretty popular. They keep the pool tables in local bars around town. And then you walk around the town to the different bars where you play, and then they might have, like in Saratoga's case, they have a convention center where those will be all the bigger matches will play there. But if you play in some of the lower divisions, you'll actually keep walking around town. It's kind of fun, though. It gives the tournaments their own little,
Absolutely.
razzmatazz or whatever. It's kind of cool.
I couldn't believe it the first time I went out
Me
there that's
either.
how it was. I was
Nobody
like,
can
this
believe
is
it.
crazy.
Everyone's like, yeah, Shane Van Vonen's playing in Saratoga.
I'm like, why are they
How
coming
many
out here?
people have Googled Saratoga and been like, what? Like, man, I must have the wrong place. This is a town of like 90 people. No offense, EJ.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I love that town, though. It's like second
Dude,
home
it's
to me
awesome, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so fun, which is why that tournament blows up every year, and they keep growing it, and there's waiting lists,
Yep.
and people come from all over. Man, Utah, Arizona, Nebraska, Montana, everywhere, and they're driving out to it's actually a town of about 2,000 people.
now. You need to get a room early.
Yeah, no stoplights. Awesome local hot springs there.
Yep.
That of course they're packed during this time. It's super fun. There's only 2 or 3 bars in town. Well, 2, right?
Oh,
There's probably
Duke's,
3.
Duke's and the Rustic are the main.
And they're the main bars, yeah.
There's a couple more.
But it's just crazy. Everyone hanging out in there, and
It's
you're
so small too.
it's
It's
crazy.
insane.
Yeah,
It's insane.
talk about
how many
rubbing
people they
elbows
pack in
with the
there.
pros. You're literally rubbing
Literally.
elbows.
Yeah. Oops, I just touched his butt. I just put
What
my
are you doing,
key
you
right
freak?
there.
Rodney Morris was like, dude, there's this guy keeps tapping my ass, and I was like, is Ryan in this bitch again? Just grabbing ass,
I
man.
should have had him
tried
last
to-
time I played him.
Ah,
I owe him a butt kicking.
no, man, I
Rodney,
played
if
him in
you're
the
out there, I'm
finals.
getting you next time.
Oh, Ryan Henry coming at Rodney Morris real hard. Rodney said he's retired, except for when he's not.
He's not retired.
Yeah. Dennis Hatch just called him out on Facebook. He said, I thought you were retired.
Exactly. The
He's
guy
like,
plays all the time.
well, what do you do? You know what I mean? If you're him,
If
you've
it's your
been
life,
doing that
it's
your
your
whole
life.
life.
That's
I
it,
mean,
baby.
I feel bad for these guys. Like, what do you do? What do you do in that situation? I
Man,
mean,
there was a heyday for this sport, and I hope it comes back around again. So
I think it will.
yeah,
There's too many people. Ooh, we didn't even touch on Barry Hearn, Matchroom, bought the U.S. Open.
That's actually really good.
I
That's
thought,
good.
I commented on that, and I was like, oh, what great news. And then there were people like, oh, I feel bad for Pat Fleming. I'm like, dude, I mean, sure.
Well,
Pat
yeah.
Fleming did a fantastic job, and everyone loves that guy, and
Mm-hmm.
he's a great reputation. But I don't feel bad for him, man. I think he's
No, he's all
probably
aboard,
a
too.
part of him that is okay with letting that go. And
Yeah.
I hope that, I have no idea the legality or who owned it or if any money was exchanged
have
or how
no
that
idea
went.
on
But I
that.
hope, Matchroom treated them well. Barry Hearn and those guys seem like they're doing a really good job. Best production quality in the billiards world by leaps and bounds.
Yep.
Matchroom Sports
Absolutely.
doing a fantastic job at all their events.
Yeah. I talk about having one entity. It would be nice if somebody could just take
Well,
over.
and Matchroom is showing that they're trying.
Yep.
They're trying to
Somebody
say
has to be the one to kind of step forward first.
Sure.
And say,
we host professional
Exactly.
pool events.
yep.
Yep. And their events are fantastic.
We just need to get everybody together. Get more.
That's the kicker.
Get more people involved and wanting to help grow the sport.
How do you convince these people that have carved out their small area and do well with it and you say, okay, well, it turns out you're actually bad for the sport as a whole. We really need you to come into the fold. I've always thought, why don't you go to these local promoters and just say, hey, we don't want you to change anything. You can run your game, your tournament, your format, however you're doing it, but just put your players and this XYZ amount of points in for finishes into the database. I mean, that would be a start.
Sure.
Just have everybody put their info in
Yeah.
and say, okay, well, this
And
player.
I think that's what Fargo is trying to do. Is just get the information in.
Sure.
As many people as we can get putting information in on players, the better. And
Sure.
a lot of the problem is the players themselves. They want to hide.
Well, yeah,
lot of
that's
pool
just-
players wanna
that's part of
hide.
the game. Yeah, we didn't even get into the
Show
gambling side.
yourself.
We don't have time to get into the gambling side, but I'm definitely going to get into that about where does that stand? Because of course you have two.
I was never a big gambler.
Well,
and
it's
now,
like Republicans and Democrats,
couldn't
man.
even-
You
I
you
couldn't
got the
believe it last
people-
year. I'm playing for $1,000. I'm like, this is insane.
But no, you got people that think gambling is the only way to make the game popular, and then you have people that think that gambling is the thing that keeps the game down.
I like the matchups, man. I like when you get monster matchups.
Oh, for sure. And I mean,
think it
I'm in
helps.
the camp. Well, I'm not. I have a foot in both camps. I mean, I think they're both important. I think gambling big and putting yourself in those situations under that intense pressure, long matches, it really shows a lot of stamina and a guy with huge heart that can come out and win. And I love that. And you don't see that the same way in tournament play. I mean, you see it all the time, but not in the same way.
Well, and tournaments are so you're kind of boxed in.
You're super boxed
You're
in.
limited.
Yep, you got to perform right now in a very limited amount of time.
You got to race to 5.
Yep.
It's not a race to 21 knockdown drag out battle. You know, it's
or guys are playing races to 100 now for 50,000. I mean, and those are crazy.
Yeah, multiple days.
Yeah. Well, and what's wrong with pool being like boxing? I mean, Josh Ramey's running those challenge matches that are basically like boxing matches.
Yep.
Hugely popular. We all love them. It's fantastic.
Exactly.
I like having a date and a time that I show up and I know how much money we're going to bet. And I know that there's, I hate it when you're up 4 sets on a guy. You've been playing 9 hours and he's like, well, you can't quit me winners. I'm like, dude, you've had 9 hours.
Right. There's no rules here either, guys. I'm sorry.
Well, of course. And you can always walk. And I've definitely walked in
Whenever
my life.
I gamble, I always set a time. Like,
Oh, that's smart of you.
I've got till midnight.
Sure.
You got me till now. Do you want to go? We can go. If you don't want to go,
But
that's
we've
fine.
all been in those fights where guys are like, oh, you can't, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I totally.
And I
it
get
is
it,
what
man.
it is. That's because no one likes losing.
Well, back in the 80s, 90s, 70s, I mean, there was this, culture of you had to give a guy the opportunity to lose all of his money. Or, vice versa, of course, to
tap
win
him out.
all of his money. To give him a chance to tap himself completely out.
Right.
And, I mean, what?
That's insane.
As one of the the new generation, I mean, I'm 34, so I got to dip a toe in a little bit in both sides, and man, like I'm never gonna play until all my money's gone, and I don't expect
wouldn't
you
do
to
that.
either. Like, how
No.
irresponsible is that? Like,
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of people out there that are gonna hear that and be like, oh, you have no idea what you're talking about, and that's fine, man. You can have that opinion. But I think that shit's crazy.
Well, I mean, if a guy's willing to keep losing to you and you're willing to keep taking his money, by all means, go ahead. But I just don't. I don't like to just wander aimlessly and just gambling for hours and hours and hours and hours without knowing when you're going to conclude.
Sure, of course.
I
actually
there has to be a
actually
conclusion.
get bored if I'm up 2 sets on you, and let's say we've been playing real long races to 21 or something, and we've been playing for 6 hours. I mean, when we start the 3rd set, I mean, I'm almost like, okay, well, I've already beat you twice.
Right.
All right. I have no idea how I'm going to play that 3rd set. I might completely slack off.
Yeah, I totally.
And
know.
I guess
know what
that
you're
would
saying.
be the other side of the coin. They'd be like, well, shouldn't that guy get the opportunity for you to slack off and get his money back? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
In that situation,
understand. I understand.
But I don't know. That's another
I think
topic
that's
for
I think
another
that's
day.
how it used to go. I think now you set the parameters. You have a boxing match. You put a time on it. You put a date on it. You're playing to this for this.
Yeah. And there's a lot more of that going on now.
And it limits any fights, any confusion,
Yep.
any hard
Yeah,
feelings.
we've never had any
anything.
issues with those matches.
Not
ever.
Not
a single
ever an
issue.
issue.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows right up front what everything is.
Yep. Which, I mean,
It makes it good.
so much nicer. It's so much nicer.
Yeah, it's calm.
Yeah. Let's end on that.
All right.
It's calm. It's nice.
I appreciate that.
Match up before you get there.
Yep. Figure
Know
it
who you're
out.
playing.
Figure it out before you start.
Everyone's like, you realize how impossible that is with road players and
Don't
stuff? It's
play
like, yeah, I get it.
aimlessly.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry, we're kind of rambling around here a
Thanks
little
for
bit.
listening, guys.
But I just wanted to get the conversation started. We're going to do a lot more of these with people from the industry, good players, road players. Got some road players coming in, some old dogs. It's going to be fun. Ryan Henry, Anytime Billiards. If you need
Thank you,
anything
Adam.
done, you're in the Denver area, Wyoming.
I am. 720-447-7093.
Say that again.
720-447-7093.
That's the number you need.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening.